Guys, it's our 6th episode of Finances with Ferg. Welcome to our 6th and final episode before our summer break. Peak the summer shirt. Today's episode will be on, again, a very important set of accounts, the RESP and the RDSP, as you will find out soon. As I seem to love to say on these calls, I don't love to say them, it's just I feel like I have to. But very underutilized accounts. A lot of free money given out by the government through these accounts. We as Canadians do not utilize them enough. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why these are so great. We're going to give you some RESP basics. We're going to talk about the free money and how much is out there for you guys to claim. Any need to knows about the RESP. Going to talk about how it works a little bit. I'm going to take a slight detour on the RDSP. They are very similar. So I just did one quick slide on that. But of course, if you have any questions on it specifically, please reach out. And then, of course, the questions, which this is a recording, so there probably won't be any questions. And a quick surprise for everybody at the end of the video going into summer, a little bit of a promo related to the call today. So let's move on and talk about how we got here. So if you've watched any of the other episodes or tuned into any of the live presentations, we've been talking a lot about investing, right? We do have a little bit of insurance come up here in a second, but we've been talking a lot about investing. What are the typical Canadian investment vehicles here that you guys have available to you? Now, we've already talked about our RSP, we've talked about the TFSA, we've talked about permanent insurance, how you can have an investment growing within an insurance policy. That's on our last episode. Didn't really talk much about non-registered. There's nothing too special about it. It's just your general basic investment account. But today we will be focusing on the RESP and the RDSP. Okay. Now again, we've spoken about life insurance. Please tune into last week's episode if you didn't have a chance to catch it already. We spoke about what it is, why would it be used for, what are the different types, how can they be used, and how life insurance is potentially one of the most important financial concepts that you should be taking advantage of, right? If you get hurt, you can get paid out. If you get sick, you can get paid out. Should you pass away, your loved ones will be paid out, with the idea of that being not passing on any debt, passing on any taxes, any liabilities basically to your loved ones, or just making sure that they're taken care of as you're no longer around to do so, okay? But today, the focus of the call will be, as I've mentioned 3 or 4 times, the RESP, okay? Now, what is the RESP? All right, let's find out what it means to you. RESP is a registered education savings plan that lets parents in Canada begin saving for their children's education at birth. These earnings grow tax-free like a TFSA or an RRSP, and the government will pitch in a certain amount for children that are under 18. Now, very broad statement. There are a couple things that we'll touch on here in a minute that will show you that it's not exactly as I said. For example, it's more like an RRSP than a TFSA because there are taxes later on. The other thing too is this doesn't necessarily have to be used for education. It typically is. That's where you'll get the most benefits, but it also is another vehicle for you to use to start saving for your kids' future, not just their education. I love this graphic here because it touches on something that is so important to talk about, especially in any sort of investing, but especially with an RESP for your kids. It doesn't take a lot to make a big difference. I hear this a lot. Oh, I can't start investing. I don't have any money to invest. People think that you need to start by putting hundreds or even thousands, tens of thousands of dollars away to start investing. Don't get me wrong. It's great if you can put more in. But the whole point of this is steady monthly or weekly or bi-weekly contributions that will grow and compound over the time. The reason why investing is so great, not because how much money you put in, investing is great because the returns that you will gain over a long period of time. Here's a perfect example of that, okay? Say your child is born and immediately they get their SIN number, you start putting in $25 per week. Over 18 years, including the government grants, at an average annualized return of about 6.26, that $25 per week, $100 per month, if you want to look at it that way, will become just under $51,000. Most schooling programs, undergrads, post-secondary, will cost less than $51,000. It does now anyway. Who knows what will happen in 18 years. But your child's entire schooling could be paid for, come out of school debt-free, start their family off on the right foot because you decided to make the right decision and start putting something small like $25 a week, right? What are you paying for your Netflix? What are you paying for your Spotify? What are you paying for your coffee? $25 a week can make a world of difference to your kids. It is not how much you start with, it's just that you start, okay? Now, let's talk specifically about the RESPs, some of the basics, some things to know, some things for you guys to remember. Now, you don't need to become an expert in any of these things to start an RESP. What you guys need to be doing is just putting money into it. This is what I do. This is my job to educate you. There are three types of RESPs that people can start taking advantage of. There are individual RESP plans, there are family RESP plans, and there are group RESP plans. Now, individual is just what it sounds like. One kid, one plan. Anybody can open these up, right? It can be a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, neighbor, family, friend. That's kind of the nice thing about the individual plans. Anybody can open one up, okay? For example, I have one open for my niece and nephew. I contribute to it. That's how I've done my, that's how I've been the uncle opening up the RESP plan. I don't know how I did this. I am their uncle, I promise you. There's also the family RESP plan, and that is if there are multiple kids in a family that the parents want to save for. You can open up a family RESP where it's kind of pooled within the kids, and as a kid goes to school, they start using the funds. These must be opened by a family member. There are also group RESPs. These, I was going to say these aren't as popular. I shouldn't say that because they actually are quite popular. But I'm noticing that they aren't utilized as much anymore. Let's just say that. Not because they're not good. It's just it depends on the preference. But a group RESP plan basically pools a large group of kids into this RESP plan. People are contributing at all times. There is the potential to get more or have more once the kid goes to school, just because there are so many other people and because of some of the other rules around it. But they are a lot more strict. There are more rules involved in these. Typically, some of the things that are incorporated in a group RESP will turn people off from them, and they'll decide to go individual or family. But either way, there are your three types. Those are what you have available to you. Now, talking about a few of the main benefits. There are many benefits, but some of the main ones here, similar to the RRSP, you've got tax sheltered growth, right? So what does that mean? Those investments, those contributions are growing and growing and growing. You're not paying tax the entire time it's growing. It's not tax-free growth, it's tax sheltered or tax deferred, meaning the taxes are paid later once the money is pulled out, okay? Here's the biggest part, right? And you're going to notice throughout the presentation that things in yellow are the most important. There are government contributions, right? That means there is free money going to your kids because you're investing for their future. You're investing for their education. This is the main reason why we should be using these. It's getting free money from the government. Time to get ours, guys. Let's grab it. There's a lot of flexibility in the RESPs. As you can see, there are three different types. So depending on the flavor you choose, you can have a lot of different options there for you. You can carry these forward, right? So if you don't utilize them all, if you don't get all of the benefits right away, you can carry them forward depending on when you open the account. So you don't have to open the account as soon as your baby is born. You can wait 5 years, 10 years. It's not recommended, but let's say you didn't know about this. Your child's 9 and you're like, oh, I want to start taking advantage of this. You can still start claiming the grants that you've missed in arrears, okay? And it sets a great example, right? imagine your child comes out of school debt-free, and everyone's like, how'd you do that? How'd you get out of debt school-free, or get out of school debt-free? I get excited, guys. It's the RESP. It's free money. They're going to say, well, my parents started investing for me, and they're going to start wanting to invest for their kids. And you are going to start building a family line of people that understand the value of investing, understand the value of education, and want to continue that trend. So it does set a great example for your kids to start saving, start investing, and start living better lives. Okay? But there are some limitations, right? Now, I would not say that these limitations are by any means a reason not to open one, but I think we should be aware of them. The CESG, which is basically, well, it's a Canadian Education Savings Grant, is the free money. You can only get $500 per year from the government in free money, and that's $7,200 lifetime. Now, again, that can be spread out over 18 years, that can be clumped into 5 years, depending on how you've set up your contributions and how much time you have. These are the limits. You can only contribute $50,000, so you can't contribute any more. The account will be maxed out, kind of like the TFSA with the $6,000 per year, except this is now lifetime, $50,000 contribution. Big question: what happens when my kids don't go to school, or what happens if they don't go to school? The contributions, so the CESG there, the $7,200 lifetime, that will be taken away if education is not pursued, but the money that you've put in is still there, the growth is still there, so again, still a great option. And then there are some withdrawal rules. We'll talk about that later on. We're not going to go deep in detail there because, you know, it is very, you only need to really know the withdrawal rules, like, you know, 2 years leading up so you can kind of plan for it. So we're not going to go into crazy deep detail, but we will touch on it just so that you are aware that. Now, yes, I did say something about free money. It was referenced on the last page too. The free money is also known as the CESG and the CLB. Okay, so it's the Canadian Education Savings Grant, and then the CLB is the Canadian Learning Bond. All right, the CESG is that government grant, which is the incentive for parents, family, and friends to save for a child's post-secondary education. The amount given is based on the amount that you contribute into the RESP. There is also, everyone gets that. There is also the CLB that provides an additional incentive, so more free money, up to $2,000, for families that have a more modest income. Okay, this modest income is going to be $46,605. Now that does change every year, so that might not be completely updated since I created this. I created this at the end of last year. But it's going to be around that mark, that $47,000 mark. Okay, let's talk about the details of these. Okay, the CESG, let's start there. They will match, the government, they will match 20% of your annual contributions, right? So if you contribute $2,500, they will give you $500, so $3,000 a year. Okay, $2,500 plus $500. As I mentioned, there is a lifetime limit of $7,200. Up to 18 years old. So what that means is they will not pay it. Let's say you've only gotten $6,000 from the government and your child turns 18. They're already 18, you can't get any more. Okay, so it's either $7,200 or 18 years old, whatever comes first. Like I said, there's a $50,000 lifetime contribution limit from you, so you can't put in any more than $50,000. Any unused grant money can be carried forward, right? So let's say you, like I had mentioned before, if your child turns 9, you're like, oh, I don't have one of these, but I want one. You can still make that $7,200. It's just now you've only got about 9 years, 7.5 years to do it instead of 18. You'll just need to ramp up your contributions, okay? And again, if the beneficiary, which is your child, does not pursue post-secondary education, does not go to school after high school, the free money part is returned to the government, but you've still been investing, so all your money is still there. Your compound growth, the interest, right? The money you've made on your money is still yours as well. Okay, so again, even if your kid doesn't go to school, these are great options. All right. Now, how do we maximize our CESG? We know that it's $2,500 per year, $500 by the government, but most people probably won't just lump sum $2,500 per year. So there's a quick little formula right at the bottom there. If you're going to contribute $2,500 per year, you're basically going to be doing just over $208 per month. okay, for your child for 14 years, and then what you would do is you would top it off with an extra $1,000 in the 15th year, right? That's going to get you the $7,200 as quick as you possibly can, assuming you start out when the baby is born, okay? Now, some other need to knows, not going to go into huge detail here because these are like the finer details. Again, these are more things you'd want to learn and talk more about when you're with your financial planner or whoever you do your RESPs with and RDSPs with. But I wanted to bring these up. What happens when you are using these for education purposes? Basically just need to show proof that they are enrolled in a qualified program. And then in terms of taxes, it's the grants, growth, and bonds, which are known as EAPs. These must be claimed on the child's tax returns. Like I said, it's tax deferred or tax sheltered, meaning that taxes will be coming later. These are the ones that need to be claimed on the tax return, okay? But contribution withdrawals, any withdrawals from the money that you've put in, are tax-free, okay? Pretty darn cool. When not used for education purposes, again, beating a dead horse, talked about it a few times now, you can get the contributions with no tax consequences, and that money is still yours. Any CESG will need to be returned to the government. You can also, which is kind of cool, you can also withdraw investment growth if the child is 21 years old and not in school. So again, more options for you if you don't, if your child actually does not go to school. Okay. What can you invest in? Similar to the TFSA and RRSP, if you think back a few weeks to that episode or those episodes, GIC, stocks, bonds, funds, savings, deposits, a bunch of different things. You have those options here as well. And if the child doesn't go to school and the money's not needed right away, you can just transfer it to an RRSP without a tax hit. Okay, and then at the bottom, because this is the stat that like freaks me out, and this is why I talk so much about RESP. I speak so much about RESPs and their importance. Only 49% of eligible Canadians are using them. Okay, 51% of all Canadians that have kids or that are kids, they aren't taking advantage of this. They aren't taking advantage of the free money. There are hundreds, well at this point 51%, there are millions of dollars out there of unused government grants because people usually don't know that these are out there or they don't know how to take advantage of them. So I'm going to talk about this at the last slide about a little promo I've got going on, but the point here is if you have friends with kids, if you have family members with kids, bring it up in conversation. Did you guys start an RESP for little Johnny, little Becky? No? Maybe you should look into it. Let me tell you why. Point them to my videos, point them to me. You can point it to if you want to look like the smart person, that's fine too. The point being is we got to get more people using these. We got to get more people getting their free money. Okay? Now, this is an investment account, right? So the money isn't just sitting there. It's invested into stocks, bonds, funds, etc. So sometimes we're already sometimes a little bit skittish about investing. Oh, I don't want to lose any money. Oh my goodness. I don't want to risk my hard-earned cash to potentially detriment my future. And then you throw kids in the mix, people are probably even more cautious. But I want you to look at this graphic. Again, I'm just crushing it with the graphics lately. But look at this graphic. Because what it's telling you is that the stock market has never been down, or ended down, I should say, never ended down after a 10-year period. Every 10-year period, no matter when you do it, the stock market has finished up, which means if you're saving for your children's education over an 18-year period, if history repeats itself, which we know it typically does, you will have more money in your account than you would have if you just saved it. And now, because you've listened to Finance with Ferg and know about inflation, what inflation does to your money, you have a lot more than you would normally have if you just saved. So the idea here is you can be more aggressive. We don't need to be so passive. We don't need to be so cautious. Now, I'm not saying go out and go nuts. I'm just saying we can be a little bit more aggressive if we want with our investments, because we have such a long period of time. we probably have 18 years, maybe 15, depending on when you start the account, to allow our investments time to grow. Okay, something else to think about, right? Around the being more aggressive, around the being more growth oriented, around the getting a higher rate of return on your investments. I'm going to show you some graphics here that are going to show you the importance of getting a higher percentage. Okay, let's say we broke down the maximized CESG formula where we're doing 208 and 33 per month over 18 years this time, and we're only getting 2%, right? How would that end up? All right, you would end up with about $54,000, but only $9,000 of that would be interest. Okay, so you would have put in $45,000 and ended with 54. Don't get me wrong, it's better than nothing, but it's not as good as it could be. And I'm going to show you why. What if we triple that, right? What if we're getting a 6% annual compound on the same amount of contributions over the same amount of time? What is that going to mean for your account or your kid's account at the end of the 18 years? Now it's $79,000, just under 80 grand, and instead of only $9,000 in interest, it's actually just under $35,000 in interest. Okay, and the last one, just to blow your mind a little bit more, what happens if we get 10? All right, 120 grand and 75 grand in interest. You can almost think of this as 75 grand in free money. Yes, you did have to pick the investments, or you worked with someone that helped you pick the investments, and yes, you had to put money into it, but $75,000 that you never had before by being a little bit more growth oriented in your investments, knowing that you've got a long period of time. Okay, if you do currently have an RESP, and any investment really, but if you've really got an RESP and you're noticing you're down in right now things are crazy, so I'm talking over a 1 to 4 year time period, and you're down in the 2 to 3%, even 4% on average, just look around. See what else is out there. See if anybody else has the 6s and the 8s and the 10s and the 12s, because you're already doing the hard work by putting in $208 per month. Why not let compounding do the easy work for you? Get it happening at 6, get it happening at 8, get it happening at 10. Okay, if you don't know where to look at this guy. This is what I do. I help people get better returns in their investments. Okay, and then just a quick recap on the investing in the RESP, right? If you remember this, it's my favorite graphic of all time. It's so budget, but it works so well. Investing is like putting it into the slots, right? You open up the account, but you still got to put the money in the slots. It's an investment account, just like the TFSA and the RRSP. The RESP is the same thing. Okay. Now, quickly, I did say I would talk about the RDSP. I'd like to do them together because they are so similar and they rhyme. Why not? The idea here, guys, is that, again, you have an opportunity to get free money, okay? So the Registered Disability Savings Plan helps eligible Canadians with disabilities and their families save for long-term financial needs, okay? Now, I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly what qualifies. You have to go through a process. You have to put some applications in. What I always recommend to people is, if you know someone, or if your child, or if you and you're capable, have any sort of even just minor disability, like maybe you can't hear as well, maybe one eye is a little blurry, maybe like whatever, if there's some sort of impairment in any way at all, I always recommend people to go see if you would qualify. Why not? As you can see in the yellow here, you have an opportunity to get $70,000 in grant money, in free money. Okay, and if you're a lower income family, think of like the CLB, right? You can actually get an additional 20 grand, right? Almost 90, it is 90 grand, almost 100 grand of free money from the government. And again, at the bottom, the stat that drives me crazy, only 36% of eligible Canadians. That's not Canadian, that's the 100% of people that could be getting this, 64% are missing out. Again, why? Because People don't know about this. We are not educated on this. People don't share this knowledge. So again, as passionate as I am about the RESP and how important that is, I also understand how important it is for the RDSP to be in place, how important this money can be for families. I strongly recommend, if you know someone with a disability and impairment, or you have someone in your family, let's talk about this, right? Let's see if you would qualify. Let's see how much money you can be getting. It's free money, guys. Let's stop wasting our opportunities and getting free money, okay? That's it, guys. A little bit of a quicker one today. If you need anything, please connect. But first, before we go, I do have a little bit of a summer promo. Summer shirt, you can see what's going on. From May to August 31st, open up or transfer an RESP with me, and you can receive $50. Now, if you can't do that, but you know someone that could benefit from this, tell a friend, refer someone. If they open up or transfer an RESP, not only will they receive $50, but you will receive $25 as well. So let's get people on the education savings plan train. Let me know, guys. Would love to help you. Would love to help your friends. Would love to help your family. Looking forward to catching up with you again next season. And otherwise, have a great summer. Enjoy the nice weather. Bye-bye.